All right, so I came out the other day and started blocking on this thing. Everything's going great. I block up here. I started at the top and working my way down. Block the top of the fender, it's looking good, the door's looking good. Well, as I go down below this body line, I start finding spots that won't feather out. When you feather something out, when you sand down, it should be a smooth transition. You shouldn't be able to see any kind of edge to the next layer. It should all seamlessly blend together. So you get down low and it starts acting like it doesn't want to feather. So I go even lower and it gets worse. I start sanding through and I can see the edge and I can see where it's just not stuck. It's coming off in little pieces instead of sanding like it should. It's coming off in small chunks. So I sand even lower and it's not stuck at all. So that's what I'm up against now. 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. Hey, when you're blocking something as big as a whole vehicle and you're making multiple laps around it, multiple coats of products and sanding them off, putting them back on, it's a lot of blocking. So try to keep yourself as comfortable as you can. And a good way to do that is to keep your work area right in front of you. Call it your blocking zone. I don't know. Keep your work area right in front of you. It's easier to block when it's right there where you can look at it and you can see what's going on than it is when it's down the vehicle a little ways. If you get outside, you know, the further out you get, the more wear and tear it seems to have on your body. So try to keep everything close. So you need to move yourself around, whether it's an adjustable stool or sitting on the floor, sitting on blocks of wood. You know, just a little bit of height difference will make a lot of difference in the comfort level. So the more comfortable you are, the nicer job you'll do. The longer you can stick with it and make it right. Yeah. I don't know if you've noticed this when I block sometimes, but if I'm down here and I'm blocking a panel, it's hard to hold that pressure in and block, so it wears you down fast. You'll notice I put my leg against my elbow, against my arm there, and that gives me a little bit of pressure on the block that I don't have to apply from up in my shoulder. So my leg's already there. I'll put my leg against my arm, and that'll give me that little bit of pressure I need to make it a little more comfortable when I block. So remember what I was saying about blocking, trying to keep the most contact with the block and the surface you're blocking. So as I travel forward or backward on this fender, I'm going to keep my block lengthwise because that gives me the most contact with the surface with this block. This block's a little flexible too, so it's going to contour to that roundness that's happening there. So I can block this way and I got a lot of contact in the front where it rounds off. I want to block and do that X pattern over that surface. And I'm going to carry that back towards this section. And eventually you'll have to bring those areas together. You'll transition from horizontal to vertical. So you could be, in this area, you could be blocking anyway. It's whatever it takes to make all those sight planes, up and down, forward and back, make all those sight planes come together seamlessly. So try to keep the most contact you can with your surface, whatever surface you're working at the time. But remember, you've got to transition those areas together. So you may have to block in different patterns, different ways to make it all seamless. Get in that comfortable position, whatever position it may be. there's that primer I was saying didn't stick. So from here down, there's no sense in blocking it. We got to get that primer off. Most likely we'll be able to blow it off. So between this point and up here is where it starts or stops adhering. So to be safe, we're going to take this layer off all the way up to here because I know it's stuck up here. Bullshit. Tip number 27. I blocked this down. I got a couple spots that are shiny. You can see them up there. So in order for filler to stick to that spot, it has to be sanded. After you sand everything, it all looks the same. So when you're wiping filler, you come back and go, where was that spot at I want to put filler? So I'll take a pencil and I'll lightly go around the spots. And that way I can sand in the middle of it. So that the filler is going to stick, and when I blow it off I can still figure out where that spot was because it's got the pencil mark around it. You don't want to use a magic marker or something that's going to bleed through. Just a regular old pencil works pretty good. All right, so what happened to this thing? What made it peel between the layers? You know, I had this thing in epoxy, it's sanded, filler, all that. It was ready for primer. So I primed it. I put the first coat on this side, first coat on that side, waited 15 minutes, put a second coat on this side, remixed, put another coat on the other side. Then I waited 20 minutes and I came back and I put on the final coat on each side. So it had 3 coats. So somewhere in those layers of primer, spraying with 15 and 20 minute flash times in between the coats, what happened to it? Why did it not stick? Pretty crazy. You'll notice when I blew it off that it blew off as I came up, blowing up, it went so far and stopped. All right, as I blew down, it went all the way to the floor. It just, the bottom was really not on there. The top, it got to a point and it kind of just stopped. If I mixed it wrong, then it would peel everywhere. If I put the wrong product in it, there's no reason that it would stop as far as the height that it came up. Well, after the second coat, it got a little cloudy in here. I turned the exhaust fan on for just a minute, turned it off, went and waited the 20 minutes, came back and put that final coat on, thinking nothing was wrong. So then after it dried for several days, I came back to block it. And that's when I noticed all the peeling. It wasn't stuck to itself. Somewhere between those coats, 1, 2, or 2 and 3. I think it was 2 and 3. It didn't adhere to itself. Something I've never seen before. So what happened? I'm going to show you. Coming in today, several days later, there's a definite answer to what happened. I'll show you. So, as we're looking at the situation, let me show you this. Super wet day out there. It's dry in the shop, right? Well, let's look at the truck. Let's get a little closer. What's that line? What's that weird shape right there? It's water. Condensation. That's what happened between the layers. Probably that second coat, waiting 20 minutes with the heat turned off and it cooling off in here. So let's look at this side. See how that condensation has an abrupt line to it? But that's probably very similar to the line of condensation that I primed over without knowing. So there you have it. That's what happened. Condensation between coats of primer. Never seen it before in my life. But that's our culprit. I already sanded it and checked again. Everything's good this time. It was drier when I primed it the second time, and I also kept the heater on the entire time. I didn't heat everything up and then turn the heater off. That probably had a lot to do with it, because as the heat rises in the shop, it draws in the cold, moist air, condensation. Anyway, it's all about relative humidity, condensation, dew point, and bullshit.